We're going to continue our Bulletproof shoulder series, if you like, and this is going to be part number 2. Some really great feedback coming in from part number 1, and a lot of you have had a lot of difficulty performing number 1 with any kind of duration or quality. We're going to take it up a notch a little bit now, and what you'll see for this one is we're still going to use the floor space, but instead of the one last time being directly on the floor, we're going to have a slight raise. So what we've done here is we've got some mats. We've got a few bumper plates, a couple of 20s and a 15. Ideally, perhaps you'd have all 20s, but it doesn't make a huge difference. You're going to cover it over with some mats, and this is really crucial for us because the next level that we're going to is looking at your scapular control in varying degrees of shoulder range. As you start to come up, what's important for us is that we don't force the shoulder into a position where it's really out to the side as far as possible, and lying on your front can do this sometimes with the first setup. Even though I think that's okay, it requires kind of technical perfection if you're going to do that really well. This one gives you a little bit more margin of error, a bit more of a buffer. And what it also does is, because you're lying on top of the weights and your arms will drop to the floor below your line of your body, it kind of brings you into a scapular plane, which also has some benefits in allowing us to recruit some of our shoulder stabilizers much more efficiently and more economically, and in a way which perhaps is more transferable to a lot of functional movements in a gym. So what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself on the floor very much like last time. I'm going to lower myself down. I'm going to set myself up pretty much in the same way as before. I'm going to organise my stomach and my bum first. My head's going to remain in contact with the ground. But you'll see now with my arm on the floor, my line of my elbow is much below the line of my body, which takes away any stress through the anterior part of your shoulder and makes it much safer for you to do this exercise regularly. When your arm is forced up into this position, it can put undue stress on the front if you don't do it absolutely perfect. So to take away that, we're going to get you to do it on the bumpers, so you have a bit of extra margin of error. We're going to get you set up, bum and stomach nice and tight. The first position you're going to go to is going to be relative to this kind of W position, we would call it. Here, I'm going to do the same thing as last time. I'm going to keep my head in contact with the ground, and I'm going to organise my shoulder girdle. I'm going to bring my shoulders away from my ears and back toward the ceiling in this stable position here. And I'm going to hold this position in this organised position for up to a minute in the same way as with the last episodes. And I'm going to hold this position. And I'm going to relax down to this position. Once you've done this several times, you'll find that it isn't as much physical effort as the first version, but it's more awkward to organise shoulder girdle. From here, we're going to go to an A position. So you're going to transition into a front position. Same thing applies. Stomach tight, bum nice and tight, head stays down. I'm going to pull my shoulders into an organised position in the same manner, and I'm going to hold. And I'm going to relax back out. Durations wise, we're looking at tolerances kind of the same as the last video, so upwards of 45 seconds to a minute. Now the difference being here that these two positions are more technically difficult but less physically difficult. So in order to get some more work being done in these positions, we're going to add a couple of variables to these positions to make them a little bit more interesting. We need to teach the shoulder girdle and rotator cuff to work together as a kind of force couple. So what we're going to try and do is try and teach that now in this position. So once you've gotten good at this W and this A, you're going to add some elements in. So on the floor, head on the floor, arms in position. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to set my shoulders into that organised position, and then I'm going to try and lift my hands off the floor and hold. Nice and tight in my stomach, and back down to the ground and relax off. And you can repeat that as many times as you want. You can even do some kind of reciprocal movements up and down, that's fine, but a tolerance hold up is what we're after. Second one here, same thing exactly. Stomach tight, bum tight, head stays down. Shoulders set, arms lift off the floor. Hold, and back down and relax. What this does is, which is really nice, is it gets the shoulder girdle, the lower muscles around your shoulder girdle as well. So the kind of teres group around that region really firing along with your proximal lat and rotator cuff, get them all working together in a manner which is very conducive to optimal function for your shoulder. It's really difficult to organise this position well, And a lot of you will find the moment you try and get your hand off the floor, you think it's been glued down because you'll actually have very little available movement here. If we try and do this with our arms right back, it's much more difficult than if we allow you to come into that scapular plane. So having a slight elevation here is very important. It's really also important that as you try and increase the lift off, that you're really conscious about how hard you're working in your stomach and your bum, because otherwise you'll have a tendency to extend your back. You'll have a tendency to want to lift up off the floor using your back muscles instead of using your shoulder muscles. And that problem and that error is crucial if you don't make it. So really keep your bum and your stomach nice and tight, and it prevents that from happening. As always, guys, have a go at these exercises. They're more fussy than the last version, but equally as important for us to get to the dynamic exercises, which is going to come next. As always, guys, your comments are always welcome. We'll catch you next time.